How to win a bidding war in northern New Jersey without doing something dumb. The market's still pretty tough. It's still pretty aggressive. This is December 2025 in northern New Jersey. And you have 4 tools that I'm going to go over to help you as a buyer win a bidding war without doing something dumb, losing your shirt, or worse. So tool number 1 is your appraisal waiver. Now, one thing that can make your offer more enticing than the next offer is a partial waiver or full waiver of your appraisal. And I know as a buyer that can be scary because you hear that and you think, well, what if the house doesn't appraise and I have to come up with $600,000 or $100,000, 6 figures worth of money? That can be a scary thing, but we want to talk through that today, keep you calm so you understand the full waiver, and then let you choose how you want to proceed when you're making your offers. First off, an appraisal is something that's done by the bank to tell you that the house is worth the dollar value that you're offering on the property. The bank is not going to lend you $600,000 if they think the house is worth $500,000. It's not worth that much, so they won't put the bank at risk. So again, as a buyer, you have an appraisal contingency that protects you. But what you can do to make a stronger offer is either a full waiver, which tells the seller, I don't care what the bank says, I'm buying this house regardless, or you can do a partial waiver. You know, things are not black and white. There's a gray area in between and you have different options to go with. So the full waiver would be like, you know, if I'm offering $600,000 on a house, the bank says it's worth $550,000, the buyer has to come up with that gap of $50,000. Again, that's the part that scares people. But the reason why you shouldn't be scared, because if you're working with a professional agent, someone who knows the market, someone who knows the area, the bank is not making this number up. They're using the comps, they're using the data from the current market to determine the value of the property that you are offering. So if your agent, like myself, is strong enough, they can look at the properties with you and they can advise you and say, you know, this house next door is a similar house. It sold for $1 million. Your offer of $1 million, it should appraise. You have a pretty good shot of it appraising fully at $1 million, and they can advise you on the risk for that given property. So the other thing, if you don't want to do a full appraisal waiver, you can do a partial waiver of some sort. You can do, you know, a $10,000 waiver, a $20,000 waiver, a $50,000 waiver. It's whatever you're comfortable with. The most important thing as the buyer, you have to be comfortable with what you're putting out there. You don't want to put yourself or your family in a tight position or a bad position by getting too aggressive. So again, talk to your professional agent, talk to someone like myself who knows the market, and they can help advise you. The other thing that's tough for buyers is some areas, you know, real estate is a very localized thing. So city by city, even the neighboring city might be a totally different beast. Some areas like Essex County, specifically Montclair or Glen Ridge, you can have a property listed at $700,000 and that property is going to sell for $950,000, maybe $1 million. So the list price really has nothing to do with the appraised value or the market value. And again, that's what can be scary. But use your data, look at the comps that have sold, and then you can determine, do we want to risk an extra $10,000 by waiving $10,000 of the appraisal? Do we want to risk an extra $25,000 by waiving $25,000 of the appraisal? Again, all of this is to make your offer stand out and to win in an aggressive bidding war for a highly desirable house. So number 2 is your inspection waiver. Now this too is not black and white. It's not full inspection, no inspection. You have anything in between and you can get creative. So you can waive your full inspection except for what the typical lingo right now is, except for structural, environmental, and safety. So what does that mean? You know, cracked tiles, door handles that aren't functioning properly, a lock that's not working properly. Those things are not going to be, you're not going to be able to get credit for that on your inspection report. But then structural, environmental, safety concerns, those are some bigger items. If the roof's falling apart, that's structural. The foundation, that's structural. An environmental could be asbestos. You could have termite damage. You can have an oil tank in the backyard that's leaking. Those are all major items that could be tens of thousands of dollars. And that's not really what you want to get into as you're buying a home. So the biggest waiver then would be to waive everything except for those items. But if you want to take a step down, you think that's a little too much risk for yourself, in your personal taste, you can waive up to a certain dollar value. You can waive all items up to $10,000. You can waive all items up to $5,000. You can waive any items over a given dollar value. You can say, you know, we're waiving all inspection items that are under $500 or under $1,000. So any individual item that is at that dollar value, you would take on as the buyer, thus making it a stronger offer to the seller. But bigger items than that, like if the roof, if you waive every item less than $1,000 and the roof comes back as a full replacement and you need $20,000, that's not going to be on the buyers on your plate. That would go back to the seller and you go back to negotiations. So again, you have options. You can do any sort of combination of these things to help make your offer stand out. Number 3, you want to have a strong offer. You want to have strong financing. Make sure you talk to your lender and come up with the best, put your best foot forward, come up with the best thing that you can possibly do for this house if you want that to be your home for you and your family. Typically cash obviously is going to be the best offer. but not everyone can offer that. So maybe some of these other tools can help you fight against a strong cash offer. So you would want to lean conventional. It's a little bit tougher to do something like FHA. There's a third-party inspector involved. There's just more pieces to the puzzle and there's more risk for the seller. So they're not going to want an FHA offer necessarily. So, talk to your lender, see what you can afford and how strong you can come in on conventional. Could you do 20%? Could you do 30%? Could you do 50%? I know that's coming up with a lot of cash, but if there's any way that you can make it happen, then your offer is going to be stronger. Also talk to your lender, see what grants are available, see what other programs they have where they can get you additional money to help you out as a buyer. And if you ever need any lenders, you can reach out. I work with a bunch of great professional lenders in the area that are super helpful, and it's no commitment. They're really there to educate you as the client, and then if you go with them, then, they'll be happy about that too as well. Fourth thing, and this is another tough one if you're in a position where you can't really control it, but do whatever you can to avoid a contingent offer. It's really difficult in this market to have a contingent offer where you are offering to buy a home, but it's under the condition that you sell your current home. Again, if you're upsizing, it may be something that is difficult for you to get around to, maybe you don't have an extra couple $100,000 of cash, or maybe you have nowhere to go for that time in between closing of both properties. But anything you can do will allow you to avoid that contingency, will really help you out. It's tough right now for any individual transaction to close with everything that has to happen with the sellers and the buyers, the inspections, the appraisals, everything, all the parties involved. When you add a second transaction into the first transaction with that contingent sale, it really makes it difficult. One thing you can try to do, if it's absolutely necessary, make sure on your selling side, if you're selling, let's say, a 2-bedroom home and you're going to upsize to maybe a 3 or 4-bedroom home, one thing that might help, get all of your selling side taken care of, get all your ducks in a row, get your photos taken, maybe list the property even to show them you're serious and you are ready to go. But then it's going to be up to your realtor to really build that case and show, look, my buyers were already listed. These are the concepts sold for their contingent property. Each of them took 1 month. Like, we're about this and we're going to get this done. But even then, as soon as the seller hears of another offer that's not contingent, they're going to lean towards that. So whatever you can possibly do is going to help you out. Even this past year, I had a property where we were accepted as a contingent sale. We went to the attorneys, and before we got under contract, we were still under attorney review. They got another offer. They called me up and they said, hey, look, like, we're probably going to lose this and it's going to go to the other buyers. And we actually ended up changing lenders, and the new lender ran all their numbers, did what he had to do, and he actually got them approved for that amount of money without having that contingency. So we kept the deal alive and they closed on the property, and then we sold their smaller home about a month after that, and everything worked out. With that contingency in place, it's going to be very difficult for you to get accepted on the home of your dreams. All right, so those were 4 things that you can do as a buyer to make a stronger offer in a competitive North Jersey market. Thank you guys for watching. Please comment below. What do you think? Are there other pieces that you'd like to do to make stronger offers? Are there other questions that you may have? Reach out. I'll be happy to help you guys out.